Hello, this is Justin. I'm back again with my father Henry. Last time when we left off, there was a couple of things that he forgot to mention that he wanted to bring you up to speed with on this episode. So first off, since we also forgot to mention, we were gonna provide a list of all of his siblings that he's gonna be talking about in this, just so you guys kind of have a timeline to work with. But just to go down the list, there's Mary Douglas, that's his older sister, who got poisoned when he was poisoned in the late 30s. And then his oldest brother is his younger brother Virgil, born in 1939. Next up is John, born in 1941. And then there's James Dutz, born March 1942. And then we haven't quite gotten there yet, but born December 25th, 1944, was his sister Violet, also known as Sis. And then there's also Bill, who is his half-brother, born in 1950. But to start things off, like I said, there's a couple of stories that he forgot to mention. So if you want to go ahead, I believe the first one was you and Virgil when he was 2 or 3.
We was out playing in the yard side of the house, and they had a little graveyard up there above the house. And, we was up there playing around. Next thing I know, my brother Virgil, he had a little fire going. He had some matches and struck him and got a fire going, and was trying to put it out. We couldn't put it out, so I would run down to my mom's or hollered at her, whichever. I probably hit her that way and hollered at her to tell her the yard was on fire. And she come out there and seen it was burning real big and got Virgil away from it, as far as I can remember. And she got a bucket of water and went there trying to put it out and stomp it out and everything, with rags and all that kind of stuff. It didn't burn like crazy, but she finally got it put out. But we both got whipped for it. She didn't whip him. She just kind of slapped him a little bit, and she kind of whipped me a little bit. Let me know that we ain't got no business playing for no matches and setting fires. And that broke me from ever wanting to set a fire. But later on after that there, I'd already talked about getting chased home from school with a dog.
Yeah. I think you were talking about your dad was a volunteer fireman.
Oh, yeah. But I think this might have been a little sooner.
No, that's fine. I mean, we're just going over things that you forgot to mention before, so.
Yeah, he was a volunteer fireman, which I don't actually remember him going to fight fires, because I was always asleep. But in the daytime, he was gone most of the time, just out messing around with his friends and everything. But he wanted me to go down with him to the fire station, show me the fire truck and all the stuff down there. So we went down there looking around. I seen the fire truck, really impressed. And they showed me all the kind of things that they had. And then he wanted to take me over to jail, show me the jail, which was next door. And they had a town marshal. I think they called it a marshal. I can't remember his name offhand, but anyhow, he was always getting on my dad for gambling. My dad liked to get together with his friends and play cards. And he was always out there prowling around trying to break up gambling. He didn't like people gambling. Threatened to lock him up a few times for gambling. Anyhow, we went in. They was still good friends though. We went in there and we were looking around, and I seen a cell back there and different things. I don't actually recall exactly what it was, but anyhow, the marshal he wanted to show me the cells, and it really scared me because I didn't want to get locked up. I said, "No, I don't want to see them." I wouldn't go back there and look at them. I got behind my dad, getting away from him because I was scared. I guess it's I guess the reason was because between my mom and my dad, once in a while, they would be talking about the Marshalls and was breaking up their gambling games that they had going on. He loved to play cards. Every time they get a chance, they'd get together with some people and play cards. They couldn't have been playing for much money. Maybe a dime, nickel or a dime at the most, because they didn't have no money. I don't even know where he worked at that time. I don't remember him having. Yeah, in WPA. When they put the WPA in, built a big road down the hill from the high school. My dad worked on that.
What's the WPA?
That's a government thing where the government does things like builds roads and gets things going on and hires the people to do it.
Yeah.
He worked for them, built that big road down through there. And, this one time, my mom she took me down there to my granddad, which lived at the bottom of the hill where they built the road. And she had us a little lunch pack, and we sit down there and wait for him to get off from lunch. And he come down and we all eat lunch together, sitting out there beside the church, big Catholic church at the very bottom of the hill. Right close to that was the railroad track, where the ground got flat. But another time, my grandpa and my granddaddy's house there, I remember we was at my granddaddy's, and my brother James, he was in the buggy. My mom let the buggy sit out there in the yard, and she was in the house, and Virgil, he come out there messing out that buggy, and he was trying to push it, and he almost pushed it over the hill before somebody seen it. They run out there and grab it right before it went over a real steep bank down towards the creek. That was really a dangerous thing there. But, I don't actually remember who grabbed it, who stopped it. I guess my mom seen it and come out there and grabbed it, I guess, but I was just standing there kind of watching, and he was pushing around, and I didn't have any idea he was going to be able to push it over the hill like that, but just about did.
What year was that?
It must have been, Dukes, he was just a little bitty baby in the buggy. I guess it was early spring, because he was born in March. I guess it was about probably May, maybe.
1942? Yeah.
May of 42, somewhere along in that area. Of course, I wasn't too familiar with dates and stuff back then.
And was this Stevensport or Cloverport?
It was Cloverport.
Cloverport.
And my granddad, he'd moved from Stevensport from Mystic. He'd moved from Mystic down to Cloverport in this little house there.
Was he part of the WPA, or what was he there for?
My granddaddy, no, that was his house. That's where he lived.
I thought he lived in Mystic at that quarry.
That was where I was born, where the quarry was at.
What made him move away from the quarry?
Well, I guess he just got tired of living in Mystic and decided to move to Cloverport.
Wasn't he the one that worked at the quarry?
Yeah, he worked at the quarry, yeah.
What did he do there?
He was a dynamite man. He drilled the holes, and he helped drill the holes, and he was the one that put the dynamite in the hole and got it ready to blast. But the rock hill was a solid rock, and it was at least between 200 and 300 feet high, from what I can remember. And right straight down from the rock quarry was the railroad tracks, which was about I'll say maybe somewhere between 20 and 40 feet away from the rock. there was enough room there to have a little road.
Yeah.
But I don't know how they went about breaking them rocks out with the people so close to where it was at. The depot was out there too, about 150 feet from the rock hill. And at where the depot was, it was like on level ground, but it was higher than the rock quarry part. Then it started right behind the depot. It started uphill and went all the way up the hill about to where my granddad's house was, where I lived where I was born at. And we moved away when I was about, I don't know how old I was. We moved to Cloverport.
Not very.
No, I wasn't too old. I guess that's why later on he decided to move to Cloverport. Since my mom and dad wasn't up there living with him no more. And then I don't know if he was had married again then or later on. But my mom, she had to wind up with a stepmother, which she didn't like. She was hateful.
Was that so? That was your mother's dad in Mystic?
Yeah. Granddaddy.
Lee Rose.
Yeah.
And then what happened to Lily Rose?
Oh, she died years before that. She died when my mom was real young.
Oh.
Not real young, but before she got married. And when they got married, they kind of took care of her younger sisters, Mabel and Violet. I don't know who all took care of them, but it's kind of like the whole family took care of them, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
I remember my mom saying she used to take care of them.
And your dad's parents, did they still live in Stephensport, or where were they at?
No, they were still in Stephensport at that time. It wasn't too long after that, maybe, I guess probably a year at the most. She might have moved there. I can't remember when she moved there. I know it was quite a bit later. But they moved on the top of the hill where we was living, up the hill a little further and back to towards the other side of the hill, which at the very top of the hill was only about probably 8 or 10 block area, because it had the school there and the parking lots, and they had houses all around it. So it wasn't really, the flat part wasn't really all that big. So it started going back down the hill on the other side, and he had houses going down the hill too on the other side. And he had a few places that it was actually too steep to have any houses.
Yeah.
Which wound up being the path that I walked back and forth to school. That was quite a bit later.
Was that the staircase or the other path?
No, it was the other path on the other side of the hill, but this was quite a bit later, closer in the 44, when I walked up that way.
So did all 4 of your grandparents live in Cloversport?
Yeah, at that time.
Okay. And what did, we haven't mentioned the names yet, it was Frank Allen and Mary Jane Allen. What did they do? They were just retired, I guess. I don't know how their situation was, because back then there was no Social Security plan. Well, how old were they in the 40s? 'Cause
Well, they was real old because my grandpa died in, I think, 45.
Frank, was it Marion Allen?
Yeah.
Born August 25th, 1866. Died April 22nd, 1947.
Was it 47? I thought it was sooner than
It
that.
says 47. And then
Yeah.
Mary Jane, maiden name was Crow. Born April 1st, 1878. Died June 10th, 1950.
We were still living in Buckoo when my grandpa died.
Hmm.
I was thinking it was earlier than that. Yeah, I remember we used to go see him. We went to see him a lot at Stephensport, and so I guess it was quite a bit later when they moved on the hill to Cloverport.
Yeah.
But I can't remember the actual time. But I know my grandma. She assisted my mom in her delivery of Sis in '44. So I'm not real sure when they moved on the hill. So it must have been before '44, because they would. I don't think she would have come all the way down here from Stephensport. She would have had no way of knowing. And, I just can't remember. And, well, when we moved to away from the house where the graveyard was,
Mm-hmm.
we moved to the first little house out by the railroad tracks down in the center of Cloverport there, which was about 2 blocks from my aunt's house on the railroad tracks there. But the house we got was like on a little bit of dead end side street. It went off the main street there back in towards the hill. And we lived in the house right there, right across the little bitty old creek. And directly behind the house was the hill. We didn't have about 5, maybe 10 feet of a yard before it started going up the hill, which is real steep. And that was where I had to walk up and down that hill there to go to school. And then I think we was only 11. We only lived there about maybe 2 or 3 weeks. Maybe it wasn't that long. And that night when that big rain, all that water got backed up in that little creek down there, couldn't run out for some reason or other. And our house got full of water. Water was knee deep in our house. My dad had to pack us all out of the house and get us across the little bridge thing there. He was wading water
Yeah.
to get us all the way to the road. I don't actually remember seeing the water, but I know the water was deep in the house. And he packed us all out to the road. And we didn't live in there no more. We moved away from there. I don't know where they took us to, but next thing I remember where we lived was on the other side of the hill in another house, which was on the street. And it was about a couple blocks, approximately, maybe less, from the hill, going up on the opposite side, which was more like on the south side instead of the other side. It was the opposite side of the hill where we moved to.
It was on the other side of the school, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I had to start going up that hill to go to school. And they didn't walk down the steps. I had to walk all the way down the railroad track, which is about a block and a half or 2 blocks to that part. right behind the house was a path where you could go up. We could go up to the top of the hill to the school. And it's kind of a little crooked path, kind of
Yeah.
different angles, kind of they could keep it out of the steeper part, going around the steeper parts, which wasn't bad because evidently a lot of people walked up and down there because it was wore down real good. But that house, when we got flooded out, I can't remember doing anything there except going to school.
Maybe that was all you did.
I guess I don't remember playing there or anything. But from that part of the hill, my Aunt Corey, she lived a little more to the opposite end from the school, on a big hill. It might not have been the same hill, but it was the same type of hill. It seemed like there was a gully, a lower part between the two hills, where she lived on the hill from the school. And we used to go up there a lot too. And we had to walk from where we was at down to the highway, which is about maybe a block away. Then we had to walk up a hill there. They had a road there too, getting up to her house. And from her house, you could look down a past her yard, which is sloped, and it finally went down a real steep hill, and you can see all the river and everything from up there on her house. They had a nice house. They had a big barn, and her husband, which I guess he was my uncle, because she was only married there one time to him, but he had been married before. He had a couple of kids with an ex-wife. And we used to go up there and see her and play and mess around. She had a lot of grapes. We eat a lot of grapes. And they had a barn. I can't remember if they had any animals in it or not. Don't seem like they did. I'm saying in there. Well, to keep them getting away from her house, we was up there playing around. This was after we moved to Buckhead, so I'll just forget about that for the time being. The little house, we lived in it, so I can't remember why we moved away from her, but eventually we moved away from her.
Away from Baku?
No, away from hang on a second. I got the two houses mixed up. We're back to the house that went up the winding curve, getting to the hill, to the school. That's where we was living there. That's where Sis was born, so that was in
44?
Yeah, 44. It could have been real early 43 when we moved there, but I'm not real sure. And I'm almost positive it's 44, because I was in the second grade at that time.
Is that where you lived when they gave out the polio vaccine?
Yeah. And I didn't have to take it because I already had it.
You didn't already have it?
Now, they thought I had it. I had that scar, just like a polio scar. But I don't know if my cousin got polio before we moved to Buckhead or after, but I believe it was after. I'm not real sure.
No, you told me you moved to Buckhead, Illinois, in January of 1945, and in late 1944, your cousin Janie got polio, and you were always visiting, even though you didn't have the polio vaccine.
That's right. I remember now. Yeah.
Because you had the scar on your arm from where you were playing on the fence, and you told him that
Yeah, I
you
remember.
already had the vaccine because you didn't want to get a shot.
Yeah, yeah, I remember now. I'd walk down to their house, and of course she got real sick, and then they had to take her to the hospital. But I don't actually remember getting her sick. Remember her getting sick or that kind of stuff. But I remember her being sick and had to go to the hospital, and they had her in the hospital in an iron lung. And it seemed like we moved to Buckoo before she got to come back home.
Hmm.
And then we come down, then we come back for a visit, and I'm not real sure.
How many miles away was Baku? It's in Illinois. That's quite a ways, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's probably 150 miles, maybe.
Hmm.
Just guessing.
And was there anything in
She could
Baku?
have got. Hmm?
I was gonna say, was there anything in Baku you wanted to talk about?
Yeah, but I'm trying to get in my mind about her and her cast. I might have seen her in the cast before we moved. I'm not real sure, but she was in that cast for a long time. And let's see.
For anyone following along, when he says she was in the cast, it was a complete full body cast. The only thing visible was her fingers and toes.
Yeah, her head and her fingers and her toes. Yeah. And before we moved to Buckoo, I was in school, and I was in school there. I used to come home from school all the time, and that one time I come home from school at dinner time, I thought instead of going to the lunchroom and eating my lunch, I just thought I'd just go home for a visit. And I figured I'd give me some dinner at home. And when I got down to the house, my mom didn't have anything at all to feed me. Wasn't nothing there to eat. She had to cook it, but there just
Yeah.
wasn't nothing they could eat. So I played around there a little while and had to go back to school without eating. And Virgil, he wanted to go back to school with me. He cried, carried on. He wanted to go too. And Mom said, "You can't go back. You can't go to school with him." And he really got upset because he couldn't go with me to school. And I really felt bad about that. Another time, a little later on, this was all after school started. Or might have this episode might have happened before school started because we was in the. No, it was in school. I was in school. We went to the show and seen Superman movie,
Oh yeah.
and we got back home from school. We got back home from the show. I was out there playing around and everything, and I was wanting to fly, so I climbed up in this little old tree in the yard there, which is probably only about 10 feet high at the most. Climbed up in the higher part so I could go, and I was going to jump out and fly. And I climbed up in there and jumped out. I didn't fly, but hit the ground kind of hard, but it didn't bother me, So I just kept on playing, doing other stuff. Forgot about flying. We went to bed that night, and the next morning I hurt so bad I couldn't even get out of bed. I wasn't paralyzed, but I just couldn't move. I
Yeah.
hurt so bad. So my mom, she called a doctor, and he come down and checked me out. And said, "Well, it looks like he must have fell, sprung his leg or his back and things." And my mom said, "No, he didn't fell or anything. If he had, he'd have told me." And I didn't see him fall. And the doctor kept talking to my mom, and he asked me a question now and then. Finally, I said, "Well, I climbed up in that tree and was going to try to fly like Superman." And instead of me saying anything else, which I didn't get around to, he said, "Yeah, that was it. You sprung yourself when you jumped out of that tree, and that's what did it." And I don't know what he did for me, but And that was the end of it. I limped around there for a while and finally got okay. I don't know if it was on a weekend. I didn't have to go to school or what. I don't remember missing any school, so I guess I got okay real quick. And, after that, I just remember going to school and waiting around for Christmas and my birthday and stuff like that. And
Would
had
you
neighbors next door.
go
What
on?
was you gonna say?
No, you go on.
Had some neighbors next door, maybe a couple of doors down. Was like an empty lot between our house and their house. Wasn't no house between our house and their house, but they lived on the corner. I used to go there and play with them a lot. By some coincidence, their last names was White, and the people that we knew real good in Buckoo, when we moved out there, their names was White.
Hmm.
Last name was White, but I never did even associate with them being the same name. I had never even thought about it till after we moved away. Their name was White too, same as Edwin.
Hmm.
And I go down and play. They had seemed like they had two boys and one girl. And we used to all get out there and play and do all kinds of stuff and carry on and have a good time. And I don't remember either one of them being in school or going to the school up in my. I guess they must have been in higher class. And I guess they walked down the railroad track to the steps to go to school, because I never did walk to school with them.
Hmm.
Of course, their dad might have took them. I don't know. Their dad only had one arm. I thought that was strange. That kind of made me feel funny. First guy I ever seen with one arm. But, at that same time, my mom had another neighbor friend lived halfway up the hill. Now I think this was the same hill. And I used to go up there and play, and she had two of the little boys, and her husband, he had a glass eye. He was up there playing around one time, and he come out there when we was playing, messing around there, looking at us, and he took that eye out and scared me half to death. He wasn't doing it trying to be funny. I don't know why he took it out, but he just took it out. I guess he had to scratch his eye or something. He took it out, messed around there, and he seen we was all, or me, the other kids wasn't. He seen I was really feeling strange or nervous or scared or something. Anyhow, he looked at me and he showed me that eye. Scared the heck out of me. Then he finally put it back in the house. And I think I dreamt about that night, about that eye. I know I had a bad dream, but I don't remember exactly what it was all about. But I woke up scared. And I was up there. This was at the same time, because I went up there several different times. And I went up there, and she was fixing supper. And they had some mackerel patties, different. I don't know what all they had for supper, but she gave me a couple of mackerel patties, like salmon patties.
Yeah.
And one of those mackerel. Because I had to go home. She gave me them mackerel patties, and I was coming home, coming down the hill and coming towards the house there, and I got to the house, and one of them was just about gone. I still had the other one. And I told her that if she gave them to me, she made me throw them away. So you ain't eating them nasty things. And I couldn't understand. I said, well, what do you mean nasty? That wasn't nasty. That's good. That's when she told me about her living conditions. She had to pack her water. I don't know where she packed it from, but she didn't waste no water. She'd wash her dishes in the water, and she'd wash them. Well, first she would wash the kids in the water. No, she washed she washed her clothes in the water. Had to wash water. She washed all the clothes in the water. Then she'd wash the kids in the water. Then she'd wash the dishes in the water, all the same water. And Ma said, don't you never go up there eating anything again. But she was still leery of me getting poisoned, from
Yeah.
the first episode. And that was kind of like the other time back when we lived at the house where the cemetery was. I don't know if I told you that or not, but so I was down to the store and I found it wasn't the grocery store that I always went to. It was down towards the bridge, close to the town. I found a big sack of Fig Newtons. Looked like probably a pound sack. Back then, you bought your cookies out of the cookie bin and put them in a sack, And I found that sack of cookies and I picked them up, but I knew better than to eat them because my mom told me don't ever eat anything you find.
Yeah.
I took them cookies, hurried home real quick, and showed my mom what I found, a big sack of cookies, and she took them and threw them in the trash, threw them away. Wouldn't let me eat them. That really made me feel bad because I could eat them good cookies. But you could buy cookies. They give you 2 or 3 cookies for a penny.
Yeah.
You could buy a whole big sack of cookies for a dime. Sure is strange how cheap things was then.
You also didn't make very much either.
No, I didn't make nothing. About the amount of money
I meant the adults.
My dad, huh?
Said I meant the
my
adults.
dad would give me. What do you say?
I meant the adults.
Oh yeah. Yeah, my dad, the only money he got there back then that I recall was from that WPA. And I don't think the fire department paid him anything. So I don't really know what he did for a living.
Apparently he played cards. So apparently he played cards.
Yeah, he liked to play cards and gamble. Well, that was pretty close to the time when nobody had much money. At least not people we knew. But, I forgot what I was going to say. I'm getting back to mackerel patties. They sure was good. They was really greasy. She fried them in a big skillet of grease and didn't even drain them. They just took them out and eat them right out of the grease. I liked them people though. They was a lot of fun. Except him and his eye. I liked him. He's a big old rough guy. Looked kind of like a criminal of mine, like a big husky guy.
Thug.
Didn't shave very often.
Somebody out of Bugs Bunny.
Oh yeah. He was the kind of person you would kind of be scared of because he looked mean. But he wasn't mean, he was friendly. But after I had to throw them mackerel patties away, about that time she was getting supper ready, and I don't really remember when we had, but I sure missed eating eating the rest of them mackerel patties. I don't remember if I had already started school then or not, but I think we just played around a lot of time with my neighbors, and then when school finally did start, and I didn't really see too many people after that there was go to school and get out and come home and eat supper and play around the house, go to bed, get up and go to school. That's about the size of it. But anyhow, shortly after that there, well, it was after my birthday. I don't remember anything else I did before that. I just played, but well, I do remember that we had a little puppy dog. I don't know where he come from, but he was just a little pup. You know, he's big enough to get out and play and eat and all that stuff. But anyhow, my mom, she was still had dudes on a bottle. He was still sucking a bottle, and she kept losing her nipples. She couldn't find no nipples for the bottle, and she had to go buy more nipples. And you know, later on, I found a bunch of nipples out beside the house in different piles of poop. That dog would eat them nipples and poop them out. Yeah, I told them all about it. Or my mom then, it was Mama then. I told her about it, and then she went out there and looked at him and scolded that dog and jumped on him and showed him them nipples and tried to let him know that he couldn't play with them nipples.
Yeah.
But I can't remember actually when everybody started getting the mumps, but seemed like it was starting to get cool weather. Must have been pretty close to fall. I guess I'd already got started back to school. But seemed like before this here, anyhow, when every night I'd have to rock Deuce to sleep in the rocking chair because he wouldn't go to bed and go to sleep without me rocking him. And I can't remember what all we actually did back then, but it wasn't much. But I remember when they started getting the mumps. Of course, this was getting close to Christmas time. So between warm weather and my birthday and Christmas time, I don't really remember too much of anything because there wasn't nothing really going on. Now, I remember my dad. It might have been a weekend, I guess. My dad, he come down to see us. And he'd already went to Illinois to work on the railroad. And he had, before that there, he worked on the railroad. He was section gang, they call it. Worked on the section gang on the railroad. That's when they left the tile plant. He went to work on the railroad. And that was shortly after we moved away from that house. Because I'm pretty sure that house belonged to the guy that owned the tile plant. That's probably why we lived there so long, because my dad worked at that tile plant. So I guess we was living in I guess we moved to the house that got flooded out. And then we wound up moving to the other house where Sis was born.
Where was
and
that house?
All this time he was always gone working on a section gang. What they was doing, they was fixing railroad tracks, and then they was fixing bridges. He had to work on the bridges, fix the bridges. Anyhow, remind me of that time that they was working on a bridge, and they're supposed to have a schedule for the trains. And they was all out there on that bridge, working on the bridge, checking the ties and spikes and doing all that kind of stuff. And then they heard a train whistle, and the train was coming. So they all started running fast as they could to get off that bridge before that train got there. I don't know where it was at. And probably wasn't too far away, but they lived on the section gang. They had boarding cars they lived in for the weekends. But they all had to run like crazy to get off the railroad track. And two or three of them made it to the bank, to the ground. They got off the track just in time, and my dad, I don't remember if it was my dad or another guy. Seemed like my uncle was working with him too, John. But I think he got off the track and was hanging on to the ties, hanging around the edge of the ties as the train went by. Either him or my uncle. I forget which one it was. I guess one of them got off and one of them didn't get off, and they couldn't make it, so they got up on the ties and hung up on the ties. The train went by. And I don't really know all that there because he was telling my mom all about it.
Yeah.
And I was sitting there listening to all this. But my aunt, Cora, she was the cook. See, they had these train cars like passenger cars.
Yeah.
Converted into living quarters for the section gangs. And they'd have to go up and down the tracks and fix different things, and check everything, and work on the bridges and whatever they had to do. And then when they'd shut down and come home on weekends, but I don't think they come home every weekend, just maybe every other weekend. I don't really know. But it hadn't been a weekend because he come home, he was there, and my mom and the kids, I guess they was at my granddaddy's house. Me and him was there by ourselves. I don't know how I got there, or maybe he already got there before they left, and I stayed there with him. We just messing around the house and everything, and he was getting ready to think about fixing us something to eat. And it seemed like I did the cooking. I cooked some fried potatoes and stuff, and I don't remember what he was doing, but he let me go out and do the cooking for him. So anyhow, we eat our dinner, and I don't know if it was on Saturday or Sunday, because I remember he had to leave and go back to work. And shortly after that there was when he got transferred to Baku. So evidently he got off from work at the section gang and was home for a while before he had to go to Baku to that new job. And evidently he was there when my sister was born. And I can't remember if he was actually just off from work then, or if he had come home from work on a weekend. Can't really remember. But when my sister was born, everybody had the mumps, and they'd got them before she was born. And my mom, she just got the mumps too. On top of that, been pregnant. And I think my grandma, on my dad's mom, I think she was the one that they got down there to help her delivery. But there was a couple women there. I don't know who all was there, but they made me and all the kids go down to my neighbors, which lived on the corner, the Whites. Yeah. We had to go down there. And it was on Christmas morning, and we just had got up. We didn't. I don't think we had a Christmas tree. It might have been a little Christmas limb or something sitting on the table. I ain't real sure. But we didn't actually get a chance to open our presents. I must open mine, because I remember we got a coloring book and coloring crayons. And we all had to leave and go down there. And we was down there for a long time. Seemed like half a day. I don't really know how long it was. It seemed like a long time. But finally we come back home. Somebody come and got us. We come back home, and Ma, she was sick as heck, mumps and everything, and delivering the baby and everything. But she did manage to talk to us, and she showed us the baby. And finally, the ones that was there, they left. But I think the doctor come in either right before she was born or after she was born. I don't know which. Because I remember the doctor was leaving. I remember the doctor was there. I don't actually remember anything about the people was there and the doctor and all that stuff. Because it was all kept secret from me. And anyhow, it wasn't too long after that the only ones there was just me and Ma and the baby and the kids. Everybody left, went back home, just left her there. And Pappy, he wasn't there. My dad, he wasn't there. It was later on when he finally did show up. I don't remember if it was the next day or quite a while. And I remember my mom, she couldn't do nothing. I had to take care of the baby.
Yeah.
She fed it, and I had to take care of it. And she told me she wanted me to heat up some water on that little coal oil stove and give it a bath. So I wound up giving her first bath. I don't actually remember what all went on then to the time my dad got there, because everybody was sick. Had the mumps. I mean, he wasn't as sick as he was hurting.
Did you have the mumps?
I didn't have them.
You didn't have
No,
them?
I didn't get them. I think I got them later on, but it was just a mild thing. I might have just thought I had them. I don't know. But I remember my mom telling me I would probably get the mumps too. But I remember my jaw hurting on one side a little bit, and it felt like it was kind of swelled up, but I just forgot all about it. I didn't know they get sick or anything. So I'm not real sure if I had the mumps or not. I guess I did. But,
If you did, I guess you got lucky.
yeah. But we was there. I don't know how long we was there before we left. But I'm pretty sure it was only a couple of days. Because my dad, he come in when he was there. And I'm pretty sure he went down and got a pass for them to ride the train. For us to ride the train.
Yeah.
And he had to get back up there to work because he had to pump that water. I don't know who was taking care of it while he was gone. But I'm pretty sure he had somebody to take care of it.
Yeah.
Next thing I knew, we was going down to the train station and getting on the train. I don't actually remember any parts of getting ready or anything. I just remember my mom was able to get up. She was there long enough to get feeling better, So it had to have been 2 or 3 days, maybe longer than that. She had us all cleaned up and ready to go. We all went down to the depot and got on the train, headed for Buckoo.